Imagine you just got the email you've been waiting for. Congratulations! Your new salary is $100,000. You stare at the number for a second. 6 figures. You made it. At least that's what you're supposed to feel. But then something strange happens. A few months later, you're still checking your bank account before buying a $40 dinner. You're still thinking twice about your rent. You're still waiting for payday. And somehow, despite making twice as much as you used to, you don't feel twice as wealthy. Maybe you even feel like you're falling behind. And that's the part nobody really talks about. Because $100,000 sounds like a finish line. But for a lot of people, it becomes a trap. Not because $100,000 isn't a good income. It absolutely is. The trap is what happens to your lifestyle when your income gets there. And understanding this can completely change the way you think about earning, spending, and building wealth. Let's say you start your career making $50,000. At that income, you're probably careful. You might live with roommates. You drive an older car. You cook more often. You don't think about upgrading your apartment every time you get a raise. Then your income jumps to $70,000. Life gets easier. You upgrade a few things. Maybe you move into a nicer apartment. You eat out a little more. You finally replace the car that's been making weird noises for 6 months. Nothing seems crazy. You're just enjoying the money you worked for. Then you hit $100,000. And this is where something psychological starts happening. Your brain quietly changes what it considers normal. That $1,000 monthly car payment that once sounded ridiculous, now it feels manageable. The $2,500 apartment, maybe you can afford $3,200. The $12 lunch, it's not a big deal anymore. The expensive vacation, you make 6 figures. You deserve it. And that's the dangerous part. Most people don't increase their spending because they're irresponsible. They increase it because their definition of a normal life changes. Psychologists sometimes describe this kind of adjustment as hedonic adaptation. In simple terms, you get something better, you enjoy it, and eventually it just feels normal. Think about your phone. When you first bought a nice smartphone, it probably felt amazing. A better camera, a bigger screen, faster apps. But after a few months, you don't wake up every morning thinking, wow, I have an incredible phone. You just use it. The same thing happens with money. You get the nicer apartment, then it becomes your normal apartment. You get the nicer car, then it becomes your normal car. You start ordering delivery 3 times a week. Then cooking starts feeling inconvenient. Your lifestyle quietly moves upward with your income, and this creates a strange financial illusion. You earn more, but you don't necessarily become wealthier, because income and wealth are not the same thing. Income is what comes into your life. Wealth is what stays. Imagine 2 people. Let's call them Alex and Jordan. Alex makes $100,000 a year. Jordan makes $65,000. At first glance, Alex obviously looks like the winner. But here's what happens. Alex lives in an expensive apartment, drives a new SUV, eats out constantly, has several subscriptions, takes expensive vacations. And because the lifestyle feels normal now, Alex can't imagine going backward. After taxes and expenses, there's barely anything left. Jordan earns less, but Jordan keeps housing costs under control, drives a reliable used car, avoids unnecessary debt, and automatically invests part of every paycheck. After several years, Jordan could have significantly more invested wealth than Alex. Even though Alex earns $35,000 more every year, that's the uncomfortable truth. A high income can make you look rich without making you wealthy. And there's another problem. Once your lifestyle becomes expensive, your income doesn't just become money. It becomes a requirement. Let's say your lifestyle costs $4,000 a month. Then your income increases and your lifestyle becomes $6,000 a month. Later, it becomes $7,000. At that point, losing your job doesn't just mean losing some luxury. It means your entire lifestyle is suddenly at risk. This is where a high income can create something that feels almost like a golden handcuff. You can't easily walk away. You can't easily take a lower paying job. You can't easily start a business. You can't easily take 6 months off because your lifestyle needs to be funded every single month. And this is why someone making $100,000 can sometimes feel more financially trapped than someone making $70,000. The person earning less may have more flexibility. The person earning more may have more obligations. That's a huge difference. Now, here's where things get even more interesting, because there's a psychological reason people keep upgrading their lifestyles. It's called social comparison. You don't decide what is expensive in isolation. You look around. If everyone around you drives a $40,000 car, a $25,000 car can suddenly feel cheap. If your coworkers live in expensive apartments, your old apartment can start feeling embarrassing. If your friends take international vacations every year, a weekend road trip can feel like you're missing out. Your brain doesn't ask, is this objectively affordable? It often asks, is this normal for people like me? And once your income rises, the group group you compare yourself to can change. At $50,000, you might compare yourself with people making $40,000. At $100,000, you might compare yourself with people making $150,000. At $150,000, maybe you're surrounded by people making $250,000. And suddenly, six figures doesn't feel rich anymore. This is why there's no salary number that automatically makes someone feel wealthy, because the goalpost can keep moving. You can earn $60,000 and feel comfortable, then earn $100,000 and feel behind, then earn $150,000 and still feel behind, then earn $250,000 and wonder why you don't feel financially free. The number changed, but the psychology didn't. And this leads to one of the biggest mistakes people make after reaching a higher income. They treat a raise as permission to permanently increase their expenses. Imagine you get a $15,000 raise. You could use that extra money to upgrade your life. Maybe a nicer car, a nicer apartment, more restaurants, more shopping. Or you could let your lifestyle increase a little and send the rest toward assets, investments, retirement accounts, an emergency fund, debt payoff, things that can eventually produce money without requiring you to work more hours. That's the difference between using a raise to become richer and using a raise to simply become more expensive. And there's nothing wrong with spending money. That's important. Personal finance isn't about living like a monk. If you love traveling, travel. If you want a beautiful home and can comfortably afford it, enjoy it. If you want the nice car and it genuinely makes you happy, that's your choice. The problem isn't spending. The problem is when spending grows automatically every time income grows, because then your lifestyle becomes attached to your salary, and your salary becomes attached to your job, and your job becomes responsible for funding a life that keeps getting more expensive. That's not financial freedom. That's financial dependence with a nicer paycheck. So what should you actually do when you reach $100,000? First, don't immediately celebrate by upgrading everything. Give yourself time. When your income jumps, your brain will immediately find things you can finally afford. A nicer apartment, a new car, a bigger vacation. Instead, create a gap. Let your income rise faster than your lifestyle. If you were living comfortably on $70,000 and suddenly make $100,000, you don't need to spend all $30,000. Maybe you use some of it to improve your life, but direct a meaningful portion toward building wealth. Second, watch your fixed expenses. This is one of the biggest differences between looking rich and being financially strong. A $300 dinner is one decision. A $1,000 higher monthly rent is a commitment. A $900 car payment is a commitment. A bigger mortgage is a commitment. Fixed expenses are dangerous because they keep showing up every month, whether you're excited about them or not. The more of your income that gets locked into permanent expenses, the less freedom you have. Third, start measuring wealth instead of just income. Don't only ask, how much do I make? Ask, how much do I keep? How much do I invest? How much debt do I have? How many months could I live without a paycheck? How much of my lifestyle depends on my next paycheck? Those questions tell you much more about your financial health. And finally, remember something that sounds simple but is incredibly powerful. You don't have to look wealthy to become wealthy. In fact, sometimes the person who looks the least impressive financially is the person doing the best. The guy driving the 10-year-old car might have hundreds of thousands invested. The person living in the smaller apartment might be buying assets every month. The person who doesn't post expensive vacations might have the freedom to take one whenever they want, because wealth is often invisible. It's the money you didn't spend. It's the debt you didn't take. It's the investment you kept making. It's the lifestyle you refused to inflate just because your paycheck got bigger. And that's why $100,000 isn't really the goal. The goal is what that $100,000 allows you to build: freedom.